I don't think we're pushovers at all for the applicants, yet we don't, in the end, we defer to DEM, for example. You're gonna need these DEM. If you have all DEM permits, who would we be to override that, right? That, because they're the experts that are. So along those lines, are there places here where we're overriding what I would say, at least, if not a higher level, but a more qualified authority? Because I don't think we should do that.
In the review that we've done as a committee, working with the planner, working with the solicitor, it has not come up that there's that area. The committee was very conscious of not saying that you can't do something that the state allows. We didn't want to be caught in that position,
Right.
but then all of a sudden you created an unnecessary restriction, and now you're being challenged in court, and you're going to lose
Exactly.
because you just violated the state law. So or state mandate, we didn't want that. But at the same time, we also recognize that the DEM standards may not be what the town necessarily needs, and that's where we learned that the town has that option if it so chooses. That it really comes down to what is the long-term plan of the town in that area, what is the vision in that area, and how does it relate to the comprehensive plan. We feel that this is in the spirit of it, based on the goals and objectives of the comp plan. We reviewed it pretty frequently, but that's something that we took into consideration. And when it came to the low use and the best practices, standardizing what you guys as a planning board has done, those are things we borrowed from, because you could have a whole new board and they don't do those things, but there's no real guidance. So it was some of that as well.
Okay.
To give credit to the planning board.
Thank you. Mr. Kozowski?
Just one quick point. Mr. Porter asked a question about other communities. I listened to the discussion and heard of South Kingstown and Charlestown. My perspective, what we're doing is adding ourselves to the outliers. It isn't 20 communities that have these laws. It's a handful at best that have them. We're joining the outlier community. That's how we wound up with 22 different wetland regulations. That's how in the 70s we wound up with 22 different building permit regulations. And we confused this circumstance for everybody involved. We have one DEM. If there are things that we don't like about what DEM is doing, we should be going to DEM, and that is the premise of the wetlands change. That if a community thinks that there's something that needs to be protected to a higher level, then it's up to that community to go to DEM and say, let's protect this. And if they convince DEM to do so, it applies to the entire state, not to one block in one community to prevent one activity. That's what we do, out of fear. The actions of this ordinance put us in the minority.
Well, and what I would say to that is that today's outliers could be tomorrow's leaders, as seen throughout history. So to be an outlier is not necessarily a bad thing. It could just mean that they're ahead of the game.
That's why I'm here tonight, sir.
Understood.
I'm just going to say one more thing. I agree with that statement, but I also have heard a lot that this is restrictive of one group or one thing. I've stood up here, I will put my hand on the Bible and swear under oath, this has not been geared towards one group, one person, one project. This is using lessons learned of the numerous Superfund sites in the past. It's been looking at Woonsocket when there was issues with their water recently. You have issues with Millville and their water recently. By all means, are we perfect? No. As a community? No. Do we have the potential to be better? Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you learn lessons from the past? DEM allows you to say, what do you want to put in this site? As long as you don't change the criteria. And, the notification process back in 2020, I know that was brought up earlier. That should have probably been a letter to everybody that abutted that space. There's going to be over 900 letters, Mark, that are going out to people. People should be informed when these decisions are happening in their own backyard. If you agree with it, by all means, come and support it. If you don't agree with it, I welcome that as well, because as Gary, you alluded to, in that dialogue, you have the opportunity to strengthen something. So this should be a fluid conversation, just like any one of our ordinances. It shouldn't be us versus them or me versus this person, because I think that shouldn't happen there. No, it really should come down to what does the comprehensive plan say, and is it in the spirit of the comprehensive plan? And if it doesn't allow it to be restrictive, because you want to recognize that balance, then we should be recognizing that as well. As I've said before, and sound like a broken record, so I'm gonna stop now.
Thank you. Okay.
I
Why not? You're the only one. You're the only one.
Sorry,
who's- Don't want to leave you.
It's my airplane in the body trying to fly around.
I'm Gail Burnham. I just wanted to say I was really proud to be on this committee.
Excuse me, could you state your name for the record, please?
Gail Burnham.
Thank you.
I thought I did. I really had a good time. I learned a lot. I learned from DEM. I learned from Gary Azowski by listening to a lot of people. And that's what these committees are for. You're going to have volunteers that are very passionate about what they really like or what they're after. So, I mean, this water committee was passionate about saving our water. Well, it's not really saving our water. Our water is not really to be saved. But we do have a procedure that was in place. It was in place prior to the 2020 change. So if you said we didn't need an aquifer or 6.19 overlay, maybe that should have been changed in 2020 instead of just the map. But that wasn't even talked about. They just talked about the map. And it was changed during COVID. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that happened, and we're not going to nitpick on it. But we did a lot of work, a lot of investigation. We did a lot of interviews with everybody. I don't know who Gary was talking about, the DEM expert that was way out of line. I don't know who that was, but we went to every single expert that the town went to. So we learned, we put down what we thought. It's not going to be perfect. We definitely want businesses in town. Just for the information, we have over, this town of North Smithfield has over 350 wetlands complaints. There are over 150, maybe 175 that are not completed yet. So that's a lot. That's a lot of complaints for wetlands. We are just a town full of wetlands. You see the Cedar Swamp, we want to protect that. You know, we can't do anything about the trucks that are traveling on 146 or, you know, there's going to be a spill somewhere. But that's what the fire department, that's what the emergency services are for. So when I hear that we went through, a company went through planning, zoning, to make sure that the place on Iron Mine Hill Road was going to be safe, and to hear tonight that the fire trucks couldn't even get in there, this is what I'm talking about. We need to have some people that are going to be like that gentleman right there. We want people that are going to be, we love North Smithfield. I don't want a junkyard up on Industrial Highway. And with that exempt on that map, that's exactly what could go there, a junkyard. We also have some dirt that's being spread around near the Branch River. I didn't see anything go through zoning board about moving over 3,000 cubic feet of dirt. So, I mean, there's people in this town that think they can do whatever they want to do. And even if you call DEM, it doesn't matter. By the time DEM gets there, it's already been covered up. So, I mean, that's the people that we're dealing with. And then there's some people that are living in town. That's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Just for clarification, it was Tift Road, not Iron Mine Hill, about the solar.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Because it was sitting on live stream or whatever, but it's not Iron Mine.
Sorry.
Okay.
I stand corrected.
Okay, board. We have definitely heard from everyone. This is the first planning board meeting I've ever been at with a 100% participation. So, congratulations, all. Where do we go with this? Thoughts?
There have certainly been two perspectives that I've heard this evening. And I'm not prepared to make a recommendation one way or the other tonight. I know we have to, but I'm not prepared to. Because what I'd like to see is a little bit more conversation from the commission. I know you've had folks from DEM, representatives from various other places, but it sounds like Mr. Jarvis here is speaking about it for the first time. Is that, have you been to some of the other water
No.
meetings?
I didn't find out about this until the town council meeting
Gotcha.
that day.
So I'm wondering if there's a way that the commission or board could have a conversation with Mr. Jarvis to understand his best practices.
Maybe a few of them.
I can provide more context. You keep talking.
Sure. Because what I'm hearing tonight is that there is a very delicate balance that we are going through, that I'm hearing from everybody tonight. And as I said, I don't think I'm prepared to make a decision because I want to make sure that we have heard everybody. And I've heard from various experts. I've heard what the recommendations have been. So I'm stumped, to be perfectly honest. And if we have business owners in town that are, providing exemplary performances, I certainly don't want that to be punitive to them because they are bringing a lot to the town. And if they have to go through another special use permit process, then again, it's, not great. But I do also understand, on the other hand, those folks that we need to protect ourselves from. So what I'm thinking out loud about is how can we engage with Mr. Jarvis and other exemplary business owners that are along Industrial Drive? How can we engage with them to continue this conversation to strengthen this ordinance? To understand the processes that he goes through on a monthly, daily, weekly basis with our fire department, as it's been mentioned tonight, what regulations he has to comply with DEM, EPA, and whatever other government entities that they have to deal with. How there might be overlap already. But again, we want to make sure that we have the appropriate regulations. But again, I'm still trying to figure out where our balance is here between protecting ourselves and working with what we've been calling the exemplary businesses with their standard practices.
So the group is looking to have another meeting on August 30th. We can look to have another one before. I will say though that you are against the deadline, that mailers have already gone out to residents notifying them of a public hearing and an ad will be running soon for September 19th. Not to rush a decision. I obviously want you guys to take as much time as you need. So I would ask that if you hold it, if you reserve your opinion tonight, that you have another meeting before the September 19th. The September 19th
We
meeting.
do have a meeting.
Right, I just wasn't sure to say.
Yeah.
So, if you do, September 19th, there will be a public hearing at the town council, which would then obviously allow for changes to still be made. This is still a very fluid document. What you see tonight could not even be the final product. It could change based on feedback that we get. But if the planning board wishes, I am more than welcome to have as many businesses come as possible and to hear from them as well, if there's ways to strengthen it. Like I said, the group hasn't been opposed to meeting with anybody, and if there is still people to meet with, but I just know that we are in that process, and that there is ample opportunity to speak at the public hearing as well.
Yeah, right.
Because we won't be making recommendations for changes we would make all those recommendations at the public hearing.
Sure.
Just so you know, our regularly scheduled September meeting is the 14th.
Okay.
So,
So then you would need to notify Joanne because you may miss the packet for that meeting.
Well, this meeting could be continued until the 14th.
Yeah, as long as the council has the packet materials due
Yeah.
on the Thursday at the latest. So I
They
just
would,
want-
they would end up, that would be transmitted, I could turn it around the next morning, so it'll be transmitted on that.
Yeah, as long as it's
Friday.
gonna get it, I just don't want the.
Which would be the 15th.
Yeah, that Friday.
And if need be, I could direct email that to all of the council members also, so that they got,
Yeah, as
The
long as there's a way to communicate, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doug, I'll help you walk to each counselor's house and hand deliver it to make sure they get it. I know sometimes that's become an issue in the
I'll hold
past.
you to it.
And Doug, I would love to be a part of that, but if it's gonna be on the 30th, I think you'd have to give us business owners maybe a little more time and meet
Yeah.
maybe after the Labor Day weekend to give us some
I would-
ability to get a couple guys together, just, you know.
If there's another date that works, like I said,
Okay.
we're having one, we just scheduled, we have some meetings in the industry and stuff to clean up. But if there's another date that also works, we'll
you know,
just-
when you have a good idea, you get punished for it, right? So one of the things, if we're gonna do that, I would also ask that you talk to your colleague, your peers,
Yes.
at least, not that we don't want to just see your smiling face, but
No, I understand.
Get a bunch of them
Understandable.
together.
You don't want one person to.
Yeah, no,
and
I
not only
know.
that, if people do, it's always easy to complain later. But if you have, it's those that step up early on, that participate in the process, which is an investment of time. But if you really need something, then invest that time and don't complain about the result later. If you didn't, that's.
I just want the board to know that we're not gonna be making those changes necessarily what you're seeing now. Because it's already in that process, but those changes could be reflected in meeting minutes and whatever, that could then be forwarded to the public hearing and read into the record and discussed and further allow for change.
And that's why I was saying what I wanted to say is because I hope that process occurs. And I understand that there's the deadline and there's the second reading and everything like that. But with all of the various boards that, we've all participated in, it's a lot easier to complain about it and not show up to the meeting as opposed to given the opportunity and you can say, hey, I can't tell you how many times I've invited folks to the Hallowell meetings and via email and nobody shows up. So I'm going to keep inviting them to these meetings when they email me. However, if they don't show up, then to me that's showing that it's not that important to them. But if on something as important as this, I think we do need to hear from the group that's being most impacted.
Like I said, if there's ways to strengthen it,
Yeah.
we've got all these, I won't detract from that, I feel like it's like, marsh on the edge, I'm just here so I don't get fined. But, we want to work collaboratively and knowing that there's a way forward, that the town's going to be protected in its future planned endeavors, and that also two businesses can come in and operate. And residents know that there is safeguards in place, that their water won't be contaminated because something was overmissed or something like that. This really should be a collaborative effort, and again, the community's been very conscious of that and finding that balance, and if we still need to find a balance, I'm more than willing to have the conversation.
And Doug, maybe I can reach out to you beforehand, maybe there's some questions you would have for business owners or myself, and maybe I could bring one of my, in other words, I'm not the expert that deals with the chemicals in my building every day, we have things in place, but I have a person that's assigned to that does
Yeah,
operation, does that I could bring in and maybe answer some of the questions that how we eliminate certain risks.
Yeah, we've been pretty open.
Yeah.
I think that education is well worth hearing, because some of us already heard it sitting in these chairs. But in addition, I think the part that maybe, I know for myself, that would be useful is how does any specific piece of this encumber a business from getting started or expanding, right? Because obviously you said, well, you have to go for a special use permit. Now, of course, we know that's not the case when you sell the business and it continues in operation as it is. But you have that other property, so you have that. Well, what exactly does that entail? I mean, none of us, I don't think any of us have actually gone through it ourselves, so we don't know, so it's always good to quantify that. And then therefore, what can be done to unencumber? Say, okay, what will still protect but without encumbering, right? So that's the kind of stuff, because you've been through it multiple times, and I imagine the others have too. We don't get to see it from the other side of the applicant side.
And I would love for the community to see some of the cleanup that we're doing. I mean, we're actually participating in this town's cleanup. It's costing hundreds of thousands of dollars to mitigate these cleaning processes that we're doing out of our own money. On some of these older properties that are just, asbestos and other things that we're taking down and doing a great process. And so I would look forward to that if we could come up with a date that would work. Maybe we could talk right after this.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm just talking out loud here, so don't hold me to this, but I don't know if there's a way to create like a waiver for the special use. If you meet certain criteria outlined by DEM or EPA, and you're showing best use practices. I think the point here is there is, I think, opportunities to still be learned that still meet the same goal as protecting the groundwater. That's really the ultimate goal because it benefits their business property and it also benefits their residents. So yes, I'm more than willing and welcome to have that conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, if we're talking about people most impacted, residents are impacted too, and I think should really make efforts to get residents here too, both for the engagement and the education. I think it would help everyone because every committee meeting like this that I ever go to, the board or the committee always wants more residents to be engaged, and especially young people. And young people are learning about emerging issues and are impacted by them the most. So I think when we talk about most impacted, we also really need to talk about residents too and reach out to them. So I feel like we should come up with a